Hello, my name is Rebecca Jez, and I'm here to walk through Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports online support module with you today. I'm going to take my picture off. I just wanted you to see who I am, and then now I want you to see the whole PowerPoint slide. So far I've asked you to watch the clip from The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon was using chocolates to influence Penny's behavior, and it seemed to be working. It was just a little funny way to kind of introduce the idea of positive behavior supports to us as we start going through this. Hopefully by now you have read chapter 1 of the Bambara, Janie, and Snow book. And have gotten at least a little bit of an idea about it. So I'm just going to kind of pull out some essentials that they talk about in that chapter and that I think are really important for teachers to know as they go down this journey with PBIS. So why PBIS? Well, teaching's hard, and you're going to have students in all of your classes who will test your patience and focus and ability to use strategies. So one of the things that schools have done is say, okay, well, how can we make sure that teachers are able to do their job and students are able to learn in a safe space? So the first thing to do always is create a safe space, create a safe space within the school, within each classroom, within each group when you have students doing group work. We also know that punishment doesn't work, and that that we have to find different methods to help people change their behavior rather than get in trouble for whatever it is that they've done. And then the final thing is that it's the law. IDEA, the special education law, federal law, requires us to make sure that we're supporting all learners in their least restrictive environment, which means that in all parts of the school, in every class, all students should have access to a safe environment, and they should have the supports that they need in order to be most effective. So this triangle right here, you're going to see a lot in education. The one half of this looks at the academic systems, the other half looks at the behavior systems. So on the academic side, you'll often see response to intervention, or RTI, or sometimes it's called MTSS. They're slightly different, but the idea is that, if you give good teaching and good behavior support, or good teaching and good assessment to students, then you should be able to, meet the needs of about 80 to 90% of your students. There's another 5 to 10% who are going to need additional intervention. So that could be small group instruction. It could be maybe assistive technology, or for some, it might even need some small group instruction with a paraprofessional or something. Then you're going to have the next tier, which is tier 3, and that's only it's actually usually between 1 to 5% of students who really need more intense services in order to meet their academic needs. They might need a speech and language pathologist to help them with communication, or occupational therapist, or a mental health therapist or counselor. But if there's something going on where they need that additional support. And oftentimes this happens in the school, but sometimes it actually happens outside of the school as well. Well, in the behavior world, they also have the 3 tiers. And this is in the PBIS model. We have the lowest tier, like if you have good school rules and everybody enforcing them and clear expectations for students, then majority of the students are going to do just fine. But every once in a while, you're going to have some that need those additional supports. So maybe that's social skills training, or check-ins or check-outs. And then you have the 3rd tier that is going to definitely need more intensive services around their mental health needs. So on page 3 of your textbook, they actually have a really nice graph right here or I mean chart right here that follows that same three-tier model. And so you can see this is for chronic, serious, and dangerous problems. This is just for prevention. It could be rearranging rooms for students at risk. And then this is for all students. But you can see violence prevention, skills training, and peer mediation programs are involved there. So here's one example of Snow Creek Panthers, and you can see that this is school-wide. School-wide is really important. Everyone needs to be on board when you're doing positive behavior interventions and supports. So here they have the expectations for the classroom, cafeteria, restroom, playground, hallway, bus, and it goes on. And then what they specifically are looking at, and you'll see that these are almost all positive. So being a good listener, using a peaceful voice, cleaning up after yourself, and making good choices, those types of things. So you can see that they've really thought about this as a school, about what their expectations are for their students. Because one of the things that we do know is that behavior is not just from a person, but it's also from their environment. Sometimes we've got students who are triggered, or maybe they lack self-management or social skills or communication skills. And so, if we are able to teach them the appropriate behavior, then hopefully, or the appropriate response, then hopefully they will also provide us with the right behaviors. All right, so this is just another piece, and they touch on this also in the book, but the idea of antecedent behavior and consequence. So this is going back to Sheldon and Penny, and the antecedent was that she was doing behaviors that he disagreed with, and so then why was she doing them? Because she just worked through and took phone calls while he was watching TV or whatever, because she just wasn't noticing. And so then the consequence was that he was annoyed. So having her, looking at, that pattern of annoying behavior, and her, just trying to kind of move through her world, he came up with his idea of how he was going to change that, and that was through the behaviorist method. And so that doesn't always work with our students. So we have to look for other things. One, what are they trying to get with their behavior? Are they trying to get attention or something tangible, or maybe sensory stimulation? Or are they trying to avoid or escape from having to do a task, or escape attention or sensory stimulation? Which sometimes with the sensory stimulation, you have some students who are very sensitive to sounds, and so that might be where it's coming from. So we have to go through and we have to think about that. And so here's once again those same three tiers. And you can see when you've got the whole school, you can kind of do this universal screening of looking at, okay, well, why don't we analyze what were the office referrals for, or what are some issues that we have in the school, and then work with the entire all school employees on making sure to teach these things. That's the anti-violence initiative that one school might have. Then you're going to have those kids who are still at risk. There's some sort of pattern that's going on. And so you have the teachers get together for possibly like a student success team. And then they really look at, okay, well, what are these patterns? What works here? What doesn't work there? And how can we help people? So that's, they do what is called a simple FBA, functional behavior assessment. And everyone in the school could be part of that. For the more comprehensive functional behavior assessments, you do a lot more direct and indirect observation. So this is when you have a psychologist leads a team on really examining serious, dangerous, chronic behavior problems and trying to get underneath really why they're happening within the school. So, what does successful PBS look like? It's preventative. It is not reactive, but rather you've set up all of the pieces that you need in order for the students to be successful. You are helping them improve their social skills, social competence, and their communication skills. You're helping them so that they become personally responsible for their actions. And they are wanting to do a better job and be part of the community. We're trying to improve their academic success, make them active learners, and then also hopefully that we'll be improving their quality of life. They can, go into training or school after high school. They can hold a job down. They can live independently. And here's the chart on page 3. And also I want to highlight on page 11 that they go through and they do a nice job just kind of outlining some of these prevention of problem behaviors and everything. So you can go ahead and take a look at that. So what are our responsibilities? Well, general educators, special educators, students, families, administrators, community-based organization leaders, everybody needs to be a part of this. Just like we know that student success comes when we all work together, positive behavioral success also happens that way. And if we make sure that the rules that we have are in line with our values and that we've been trained on making sure that we're able to implement these. When I do work with schools, one of the biggest things that teachers tell me is, I wasn't trained on how to work with that student or on how to, deal with these behavior problems. And the big thing is that, well, right now in your credentialing program, we're trying to work with you and train you on these things. And then your district will also continue trainings, hopefully. But we need your buy-in. And at schools, they need the teachers' buy-in. And teachers need adequate resources, training, and support from administration. They need to implement the different plans with fidelity, make sure that they are done how they were written out as being done, and that the accountability of progress monitoring notes is there, that you're working horizontally, so with the other people in your grade level, but also vertically. So that would be with people in other grade levels or in other departments. And that you're also working with the community, because that makes a big difference. All right, so the who. The parents, the teachers, the psychologists, administrators, students, and others support members. So if you can go to page 10 in your textbook, and it goes through and it gives you some student snapshots. Now, I want you to take a look at these 4 student snapshots, and I want you to just think about which tier you think of support you think each one of these students will need. So go ahead and hit pause and go through and do that. All right, hopefully you went through and did that, and now you're replaying this, and you have some ideas. Well, here's the little tricky thing. We actually never make a decision on our own as educators. We should be making the decisions collaboratively. And so whether it's your leadership team that's coming up with the tier 1 intervention, so the different school rules or initiatives that the school's adopting that year, or it's a student support team that has identified some students who need some additional supports and is going through developing a plan and monitoring whether that works. Or it's the individualized positive support team that's going through and actually doing a full functional behavior analysis for a student who is in more chronic or severe need. Each one of those steps happens with more than one person. And so making the time and showing up to participate in those meetings is really important. And then I really like how on page 17 they go through, around that section, they go through and they talk about the team meetings. Showing up on time for a team meeting is really important. And if you're leading the team meeting, having an agenda, clear roles of what each person will do, and respecting the time of others. So if somebody seems to be monopolizing the conversation, then you make sure to, facilitate that and address that so that everyone gets their piece heard and there's actual action items that you're leaving the meeting with. Everyone's clear on what they need to do. So, so the big takeaways are really that, PBIS is a continuum of services. It's not just one size fits all, or that you can just kind of throw people into the different places. It's around bringing evidence-based practices to the classroom and to teachers and for students. It is about being positive and teaching positive behavior skills, and also early intervention. So realizing this quickly before things get out of hand, and then working together as a team to make sure that you're supporting all of the students in your school site. So now if you take a look at our, excuse me, whoops, the agenda for our online module. You've now gone through and you have, this video will be right here as soon as I hit play. I now want you to watch this, and it's just 10 minutes of North Thurston County's district's PBIS experience. And you can click on the YouTube so you can see that. But they do a nice job kind of highlighting some really positive things that they've done. And then they have some of the school employees talking about the change that they saw within their district. And then we have a task for you, which is actually 3 tasks for you to finish this module. The first one is I want you to click on this form and I want you to give that to a teacher who will be answering the questions on, it's about a 12-minute survey, 12 to 15 minutes, and it's on, what teachers' experience is in schools. So, oops. So this is what it looks like, and it goes through and explains each part, and then at the very bottom there's a place for that teacher to name which USC student asked them to complete the survey, and then that's how you will get your credit for it. So then you'll first do that, and then I just want you to write down the name of the teacher who took the survey. And the second part is I want you to ask 6 questions to a teacher who is either at the site that you're working at, or if you haven't been placed in a site yet, then a teacher that you know is just fine. And if you need help with that, let me know. And I just want you to ask them about their PBIS supports at their school site. I also want them to ask about, I want you to ask them if they have any students with behavior intervention plans or BIPs or any IEP behavior goals. And if so, I want to hear about them. Don't put the student's name though. And if not, then, or if they don't know what that is, then that's good information to have too. And then is there anything else that we should know about supporting the students at that school or that you should know about? And then I just want you to do a personal reflection on some examples of PBIS that you've seen in schools, and have you seen it implemented successfully, yes or no, and then explain your answer. So just, a few sentences here, not a whole lot, but I just want to get your sense of how much knowledge you have around this. And how do you turn this in? Well, you can see right here that this is an actual assignment instead of just information. So you're going to click on that, and then you're going to see here's all the resources again. And right here it says write submission. So you'll click on that, and then you will write the answer to number 1 is Ms. Jones took the survey. 2, and then you'll give me the answers for the interview, and 3, your personal reflection. And then you will, you can also, if you want to attach something, you can do it there. And then you will hit, I don't know why it's not going over, but down here is submit. And so you can hit submit, and then that's how you turn in your assignment. So with that takes us through the module. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm always here to support you, and thank you for working so hard.